Okay, good evening, everyone. This is Sachin Karnik. Today is the 14th of January, 2025. If you are online, you are welcome to keep your video off, or you can turn it on if you want, but please do stay on audio mute until the presentation is over. We are on year number 2, week number 2, and our goal during this year, our major goal during this year is sustained balance. Sustained balance of what? It is to sustain whatever level of balance we have achieved in the last year, to maintain that and not to fall back. Although there will be some fluctuations, not to worry, it's perfectly okay. But whatever we have gained in the last year, to maintain that and to even exemplify that, to enhance that further into a goal of sustaining balance across all 12 dimensions, where energy flow is remaining balanced. It is the right amount in each dimension, and on that basis, we can proceed forward. Okay, the rating scales are, of course, available to you, those who are doing that, and then we kind of go from there. All right, so so in the current series, we are examining energy conservation in the first 13 weeks. It's a very powerful concept, and it has to do with what we have been looking at with regards to the 5 stages. Please do keep this in mind. If you've written these down, that's fantastic. The slides are, of course, available to you. We've looked at energy activation and utilization, stage 1. Stage 2 is energy equalization. And stage 3 is energy conservation, which is exactly what we have started last week. Then the next 13 weeks will be revitalization. 13 weeks after that will be transmutation. And then we'll get into some other things after this series is done. So personal energy conservation, what is that? So let's just look at just some basic ideas again to make sure we are together on this. And if you have any questions or comments, just hold them until 9 p.m. and then we can get into it. You can make some notes if you would like. So if you are also taking notes, you can open workbook number 1 and put today's date on there. It's good to write some things down, and I'll kind of guide you through that process also. So personal energy is our inner resource that fuels the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual activities. We know this. This should be like second nature to us. That's absolutely correct. Personal energy acts as the foundation for human motivation, productivity, well-being. We've talked about that before. Without that, nothing happens. That should be very clear. Energy flows through thoughts, emotions, actions, relationships, etc. The TEMDE, thought, emotion, memory, desire, energy, that should be clear by this point. That's very clear. Hopefully that's we're like fixed in our mind. So conserving personal energy involves identifying activities and habits that drain energy and replacing them with restorative practices. Now, to understand this a bit more, there's a question here. How can activated energy be conserved with regards to personal energy as an inner resource? So if you're taking notes, you can write this question down. If not, you can write it down later on, but you can take a moment to write it down. This is a very basic and very important question that is going to guide us in unfolding the dynamics of energy conservation. And notice how that's been put to you. Energy conservation is a dynamic process that has to do with activated energy. And I'm going to explain that further. We started talking about it last time. It is a bit difficult to understand right away. It's going to take some time, some reflection. I'm going to do my best to try to explain it. We'll see where it takes us. This is a question. So if you're taking some notes, please do write this down. I'll give you a moment to write this down. Okay, so make sure that the question is clear. We've talked about activated energy last time. So the question is, how can activated energy be conserved with regards to personal energy as an inner resource? What does that question mean? Let's try to understand this question. Energy gets activated. Let's use a simple example. Sachin gets up and starts going for a half an hour walk, right? Let's use that as a very simple example. Is there energy that was dormant that has become active? Yes, physical energy, mental and emotional, cognitive and emotional, and the physical body is moving for a half an hour in a park. Very simple example. But now you'll notice something that happens. Yes, let's just assume for a moment that 100 units of energy are active. I'm just pulling out a number just for the purpose of our illustration. Doesn't mean there's 100 units like that, actually. That's how much is required to do the walk. Okay? But let's say 30 units of that, 30% of that full energy is being used mentally to think about things that do not serve us. And in fact, that is actually a certain level of wastage, certain level of unnecessary thought, unnecessary emotion that goes, thought, emotion, they are churning that. And so that out of that 100 units that's active, 30% is being wasted this way. That is where this conservation concept comes into the picture. That once energy is activated, to be aware how much it is being wasted, where, misused, wasted, damaged, in directions in the 12 dimensions where it's not needed. And then to realize that, to be aware of that, and then to pull it out of that and store it back inside your system. That is energy conservation. So Sachin goes for a walk for a half an hour. Within the first 5 minutes, I become aware, oh, my mind is going God knows so many places. If it continues there, it can, my lot of energy will go there and a lot of time will go there and it'll be a wastage. No. So I'm going to conserve that. It's been activated already. My mind has already gone there. In something in the past, some worries, some fears, some this, that, something that is an unnecessary utilization. I'm aware of it. That's the first step. That's the big step. And then deliberately, consciously, to pull it out of that domain of thought and emotion and place it back inside the system as a conserved energy. That's what this means. Now, we're going to talk about this very, very carefully. So let's look at this here. Try to open this up slowly and carefully. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Activated energy is like a fuel tank. It has a finite capacity. Personal energy fuels all dimensions of human experience. That's clear. So conserving it is essential for sustained well-being. Understanding how your energy can be depleted helps you to become more mindful in how you spend it or conserve it. We've talked about that already. Now, here's an example. Constant multitasking depletes energy faster. Focusing on one task at a time conserves mental energy. So the homework assignment for this week is to do just this, is to stop multitasking. Multitasking is a serious problem. We have too many things going on that we have trying to do all at one time. We cannot do them at one time. Do them in sequence. One task only at a time. I'm telling myself this because I have a habit of doing this also, right? So we all have habits of doing that because our mind is so fast. So to be aware of not doing multitasking. There are multiple tasks to perform. That's fine, to plan them out in sequence. But as far as the 24-hour cycle goes, at this time, only this is to be done. And no other activity is to come and hinder the activity that I'm working on right now. For example, Sachin is going to spend an hour or hour and a half, let's say hour and a half, in this activity for Angel Wing right now. So if I have some other thing that I'm doing at the same time, trying to read an email or, this is a problem. My attention needs to be fully here only. Then it will be the best quality experience, best quality activity. I would suggestion from me here, from Sachin here, is to do this. Start with small activities, small things. Literally like putting away your laundry. If you're going to put away your laundry, do your laundry, then just do that. Putting on your clothes, then just be aware of that. You see what happens in the morning when we're putting on our clothes. Our mind is spinning into the 10 other things that are coming up. We don't even put on our clothes in the best possible way. We kind of put it on somehow and rush through it. Just be aware to do this right now. Yes, there's a lot of things to do. We can think about it, no doubt. But whatever action we're doing, do that thoroughly, completely, and only that action. And no other action. Or if another action is done, it should not interfere. Like, for example, if I'm drinking coffee and I'm watching something on TV, okay, but it should not be done in a way that is causing a split inside where there's too much energy being used. There are subtler dimensions of this also, which we will talk about later. We just want to understand the concept right now. And the homework assignment this week is to stop multitasking completely as much as you can. Don't do it. You can't do it. Nobody can. There's no such thing as multitasking. But what we are doing is we're jumping in multiple ways, not doing anything well. And that is a significant wastage of energy. It doesn't conserve energy. We are just throwing energy away by going through this multitasking madness. We don't need to do it. It's absolutely unnecessary. And you will see, and I will see, how beautiful life becomes, how beautiful each day becomes when we stop multitasking. Let's say, for example, take the laundry example. Take small things. They're not small, actually. Let's say I've done 2 loads of laundry and all the clothes need to be folded. What happens inside my mind? Oh, I'll do it later. Maybe I'll do it another time. Maybe I have so much resistance inside. So that resistance needs to stop. I make a decision. I'm going to do this for the next 20 minutes or whatever time it takes. And I'm just going to do that. Maybe listen to some music or something. It's okay. But do it without any resistance. So to do an activity, maybe having a meal, cooking a meal, doing your laundry, going for a walk, driving your car from one place to another, whatever it is, or even more complex tasks like me building these presentations, for example, put my attention there, do it well there. See, mind and action have disconnection. Mind is going to be billions of times faster than our action. So let's talk about that for a moment. Let me explain that just a little bit more. There are a lot of slides here. Let's just be clear. It's not about my covering amount of material, which I have a tendency to do. I want to try to, pull back from that a little bit. It's not the quantity of material. It's how much is internalized. Our mind is extraordinarily fast. And it jumps. It jumps from one thing to another very fast. But when we plan out multiple tasks, planning multiple tasks is beautiful because then we can do one activity task at a time, which is not multitasking. It is acting in the present, one activity at a time, one task at a time, and then completing multiple tasks. See the difference? It's a world of difference, and each person's life is their own. This is not, no 2 people's life is the same. Each person has to look in the mirror and say, where am I going wrong here? First of all, we don't even understand this concept. And until you and I together, until all of us together understand this, first understand it conceptually, and get the concept clear, crystal clear. That is step 1. Step 2 then is to directly apply the idea and see its power. Not because Sachin is saying so or anybody else. See it for yourself because of application. Conceptually, this might sound good. You might even agree with it. Somebody might even say, this sounds very nice. I like to hear this kind of stuff. Doesn't mean anything unless it's applied. Even for me, I'm talking about it right now. Unless I actually apply it and see its truth, it's just a lot of words. So we don't want to be just at a lot of words level, the flowery language. No, we want to actually be in it. That's what personal transformation is about. That's what balancing is about. For example, decision, it has to do with decisions. A decision is made. Let's say Sachin makes a decision. I'm going to wake up at 5:30 tomorrow. Come what may. I'm waking up too late sometimes. This is too early sometimes. No, I'm going to wake up at 5:30 for the next week. It will balance. Maybe take a nap later on, whatever I need to do. But this is if I decide that, then I am already planning for the task. The planning process goes on. These are the things that are planned. And I've mentioned it before. We've talked about it. Following through on the plans we have already decided, rather than shifting them again and again and again. The moment we shift pre-decided plans, we damage energy. We don't conserve energy. We damage time. We don't complete tasks on time. We do so many things like that. Right? So this should be very clear. This concept should be very clear here, that the mind is going to keep running in 1,000 directions. But that doesn't mean we have to run that. Mind is a tool to be used. It is not something that just to be run amok. No. And the body and its activity are never going to be as fast as the mind. Even our words are slower than the mind. Our mental power and speed is extraordinarily fast. Our language is not that fast. Our physical activity is nowhere near that fast. And when we try to, jump from one thing to another, that doesn't work. That causes definitely what it does. It doesn't allow us to conserve energy. It hyperactivates energy. So conservation is not there. Conservation of activated energy means that energy is active. Let's say a certain amount is active to detect what needs to be placed back inside the system. To detect it and then to place it back. It's almost like that example I gave last time. If you take $5,000 with you and go to the mall, okay, maybe you spent $30, $40, $50. But then you said, no, out of that, maybe I don't need to spend $20, $30. I need to spend $100 or $50. You pull back, decide this is unnecessary, pull it back and put it back in your pocket. So you've decided that you've taken 5,000. It's all potentially present. You could spend all of that in one shot. But is that the right thing to do? Is that vitamin M? Is that the right utilization of energy? You see, so it's like that. You could withdraw $5,000 from your bank account. Doesn't mean you've spent it. Similarly, when I'm going for a walk, I'm already opening up all kinds of power. But I have to see how much needs to be placed back. Sometimes, what happens even with exercising, we exercise too fast. We get so just exhausted. Then we cannot even do a half an hour. We just do 10 minutes. I'm just too overexhausted because I'm just burned out. Because we've ran too fast, done too much at one time. It's called hyperactivation. Hyperactivation prevents conservation. But the right amount of activation promotes conservation. You see, this is the principle. If you're taking notes, hyperactivation prevents conservation. The best amount of activation promotes conservation. This is a basic principle. So conservation is a big idea here. Most people don't know about it. They've never even thought about this. We think of conserving energy as just not doing anything. No, I'm just going to just not do anything. I'm conserving energy. Well, you're just keeping energy that's present dormant. It's not really useful to do that. It needs to be active to some extent, but in which direction? How much to open up? Because all life is activated energy. That's the way it is. But the transition into conservation mode while keeping certain amount active is our goal. So this multitasking example is a big one. It's a massive example. It's a massive reality of life. So this is one of those things that we can implement this week. Let's look at another one here. So align energy expenditure with core values. This is another dimension of this. And we have lots of these actually, but obviously we're not going to have time to get through all of them. But we'll get through whatever we can. It's perfectly okay. Energy conservation is most effective when our actions align with our values and priorities. We've talked about this before, but remember, our program is not simply about concepts and ideas. Whoops, wait a second, something happened here. Hold on a second. Let's go back to this from current. Yeah, okay, there we go. All right, so energy conservation is most effective when actions align with our values and priorities. Spending energy on tasks that don't resonate with our purpose leads to quicker depletion. This is another key point. Values, priorities, things that ought to be done. Are they being done at the right time, in the right way? Is there alignment between actions, values, and priorities? Right? So it's a question. It's just a question you can write down in workbook number 1. Is there alignment between actions, values, and priorities? Or you can just listen to the audio, or you can see the slides later on if you want. Right? So engage in meaningful activities that recharge rather than drain energy. Very simple. We know this. Everybody knows this. We keep talking about, are we doing it though? Are we engaging in day-to-day activity that is recharging us? Like going for a walk example, that can be very recharging. depending on state of mind. It has to do with state of mind. But at the same time, one could be sitting in one's room, worried and tension and all kinds of stuff is inside our rolling around. Physically, we're not active, and there's a drain going on, right? So energy conservation, prioritizing spending time with loved ones if relationships are a core value, right? So it's a matter of priority, where to put in the 12 dimensions how energy is flowing, because conservation is key. Conservation is extremely important to do higher things later on. Okay, that's the basic idea. Let's continue forward here. Minimizing energy drains. If you're taking notes, you can write this down. Leaks, energy leaks. Just put that down. Activated energy can leak through negative emotions, overthinking, stress, and toxic relationship. 4 points. Again, homework assignment number 2 this week. Where are negative emotions in my life? Are they there? Negative emotions are a problem because that's going to leak energy. It's going to prevent conservation. As soon as negative emotions come up, whatever storage is there, the stored energy gets damaged. Overthinking is another problem. Some situation has happened, but we sometimes go back into it and keep analyzing and analyzing and leave it alone. Don't overanalyze anything. Analyze to the right extent. Let's talk about that a little bit. So there's a couple of points to keep in mind. Overanalysis leads to psychological paralysis. We've said that before. If you haven't written that down, write it down and get it clear. You and me, all of us. Overanalysis leads to psychological paralysis. Too much analysis is absolutely not necessary. Analysis has purpose. Certain amount of activated energy is used in the analytical ability. For example, I just use myself as an example. Let's say something happened 15 years ago. Some difficulty happened, but I've been thinking about it on and off, on and off, on and off. Somebody calls me, I see somebody, and then again, I start to think about that. It reminds me, or it's connected to that somehow. I start to overanalyze. Unnecessary. I can't change the past. To think about what I need to do in the present, to that extent is fine. To be aware of what has happened, to that extent is fine. There's a demarcation line between healthy analysis and overanalysis. So if you make a circle, you can do that on your diagram there, just on your notepad or your workbook. Make a circle and just put a line in between the circle. On the left side, put healthy analysis. On the right side, put overanalysis. And there's a line in between the two. And to be aware of where is that line for me. It's awareness. It's very simple. Just make a circle and divide it in half. Just make a line. Right? And if you want to make a dotted line, that's also okay. But just make a line. It's okay. When the left side is healthy analysis. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be relationships. It could be something from the past. It could be something going on now. It could be anything. It could be a health issue. There is such a thing as overthinking and overanalysis, and that can lead to worry and tension and fear. And what does that do? It activates energy and destroys it. Overanalysis, what does it do? It activates energy and it destroys it. Understand this point clearly. And you and I can see that that's the case. And the right amount of analysis, healthy analysis, activates energy and restores it. See the wordplay there. Activated energy is restored when there is healthy analysis. Healthy analysis is activated energy that is stored and also restored. You can use the word both ways. Restored from the system and restored. It's stored again. It's opened up and it's stored again with a nice, beautiful perspective in life. That's healthy analysis. But the demarcation, if we go too far because of our tendency to overthink, feel too much probing, groping inside that thing, that will take us into that other realm of, as soon as we cross that line, that restoring doesn't happen. Overanalysis will damage energy. It will destroy it. It will imbalance. It will create imbalance. This is a very serious problem in most of humanity. That is over-analysis, too much analysis, and if you take it too far, it will paralyze the mind. Because it's not just an intellectual analysis, our emotions are completely tied to that. And our emotional energy gets involved in it, and emotions and cognitive energy both get fragmented, shattered, damaged, and we get paralyzed internally. That leads to reactions like overeating, oversleeping. People take medications. It just goes. There's a whole chain reaction that happens due to overanalysis. So the right amount of analysis restores energy, and stores. Both words are accurate. Sachin is speaking for Sachin. I cannot apply this to anybody else. I have to apply it myself. And from a religious angle, and maybe we can talk about that if you want, even from a religious angle, if somebody is praying to God and doing religious practices, one of the benefits of religious, meditative, spiritual practices is the restoration of that damaged energy. Yes, that is definitely a benefit, but it can be done in other ways also. It's a matter of awareness. I have to be aware that I'm going too far here. And because our mind is so fast, it can take a situation that happened years and years back, and it can just chew it up and keep chewing it up and keep chewing it up and keep chewing it up. And what will that get us? It doesn't take us anywhere. There's no newness in that. There is no openness in that. There is no development in that. There is only the repetition and the regurgitation of the past, where there is no growth in that. There is no insight in that. There is only regurgitation and regurgitation and regurgitation. And life is wasted this way. Time is wasted this way. Energy is wasted this way. Relationships are damaged this way. The right action that needs to be taken are not taken. And hence, we suffer and cause suffering in others. Then there's reactions like anger. Because once the tension builds up, then that leads to anger. That leads to even hatred. You see, so it can have this very severe downward turn, which we do not want. That is called overthinking. So see the point very carefully. Activated energy can leak. It's the leakage through negative emotions. Overthinking is this overanalysis. I just described it now. Stress. Let's talk about that. Now, there's several kinds of stress. Let's be clear on this point also. There are several kinds of stress. There's something called eustress, EUSTRESS. If you don't know that word, you can write it down. It's the good quality stress. Like, for example, I'll just use myself as an example from today. I was preparing the slides for this presentation, going through a bunch of stuff and how to put it together and stuff like that. A lot of enjoyment, but that is called eustress. That means that there is a certain focused energy in a very good way to accomplish a certain goal. That is called eustress, EUSTRESS. And that is necessary. So that eustress allows for the development of the right kinds of actions and the implementation of them for our benefit of others, etc. But then there is, again, that demarcation. You can literally make the same circle again, put the dividing line on the left side, put the word eustress, on the right side, put stress and put a negative sign there. Negative, meaning energy draining stress. The kind of stress we don't want. So many examples are there in life. Thousands of examples in conversations that happens, in traffic jams that happens, in grocery lines that happens, and with fluctuations in the stock market it might happen. Who knows, Everyone's life is their own. But to stay away from the negative stress that is energy draining, and to stay in eustress, meaning the right kind of deliberate quote, stress applied to achieve a goal. It's for example, if I'm sitting in a car, let's very simple example. I'm going from point A to point B, wherever I'm going. There's people cutting off. So many things could happen on the road. But the fact of the matter is that if I'm very steady and very stable and balanced from within, and I have to have certain amount of activated energy going in a direction to reach the goal. I cannot just like ignore, be non-attentive. So a certain amount of eustress is present, eustress, in driving a car safely, properly, looking in the back and mirrors and gas pedal and keeping. There's a lot of stuff involved in it. That is called eustress. But if I start getting upset, I start getting bored, I start getting worried, agitated, this and that, what happens? Or I start worrying about something, or I'm just, frustrated, or negative kinds of emotions, feelings and thoughts, they create another type of stress. Please remember one thing, just as a reminder, that the words are on the surface. The reality is underneath the words. The words are always on the surface. The word stress is just a word, right? But what does it mean for us? Its meaning for us, and then its reality for us, the reality of it, the actuality. So if you write, you can actually create. You could even create a circle if you want, and just make two horizontal lines in between there. So on the top is the linguistic level. It's the word. It's just the concept. The concept is there. Then underneath that is the intellectual understanding of it, and underneath that is the actuality. There's three levels here. We live in that intellectual level. Oh, I understand what the word means. I can, understand it. I know what it means. No, that's not good enough. Be in touch with what the word is referring to, the reality. Oh, this is stress. I see it. I'm going to get out of that zone and move into that conservation mode. Because the stress, what does it do? But it damages the function of the body, damages the mind-brain-body connection. It has a lot of negative effect. Again, that energy has to be pulled out of that consciously, deliberately. Now, this is where meditation, prayer, spiritual activity, exercising, there's a lot of different things that we will be talking about in this series to pull the energy away from that. So that is our third homework assignment. Detect where there is stress and move it into the dimension of eustress. Move it into that modality. For example, if I'm thinking about, some worry, I'm worried about something that happened in the past, I can change that to say, let me make my life better today. Because the only person I have control over is me. By making the next 2-3 hours as fantastic as I can, isn't that better than brooding over something that is dead and gone? I have to ask myself this. I am the cause of my own upliftment, and I am the cause of my own degradation. I am the cause, meaning this, of my own personal transformation, and I am the cause of my own bondage. I can use scriptures and God and all that, but that is also within me. That is my volitional way of trying to do that, if I want to do that. Yes. Or use whatever means, including all these programs we have, that's fine. But who is the cause of degradation, and who is the cause of transformation or upliftment? Our own mind, our own inner self, right? That's very simple. We understand this. Sachin said it. I said it right now. It's conceptually true. Fine. Now I understand it intellectually. We can chew it up and realize it and understand it. Fine. But now to actually implement this Tuesday evening program is 100% implementation based. We do talk at the conceptual level because we have to. We have to start there, but we don't stop there, right? So having said that, this is the third homework assignment. Let's go back to these slides just for a moment here. We just have another 10 minutes left here. So let's see how much we can get through. Again, it's not the quantity. There's some 80 slides here. So there's a lot of material here, but one step at a time. It's all right. All right. Now, toxic relationship is the next component. Activated energy can leak energy through toxic relationship. What in the world is that? Again, make a circle. Very simple. Make a circle, put a line horizontal right in the middle, and put healthy relationships on the left, put toxic relationship on the right. Very simple. You don't need to make any big complex theories. It's utterly simple. And I have to see myself, where are my healthy relationships now? And where are toxic relationships? And where is the source of that toxicity? Is it me? Is it my over involvement? Is it somebody else? How do I deal with that? I have to get out of that toxic environment, toxic relationship mode. Whatever others are doing in their life, let them do that. We don't have control over anybody. And if you remember, Sachin has said this many times with all humility and respect to everyone, that look, you know, we cannot allow access to anybody on the outside to the internal energetic bank account. Absolutely nobody. The only exception, in my humble opinion, is God, or if you have absolutely loving, intimate friend or intimate partner, someone that could, or a family member that you want to give act because there's so much non-selfish love, that may be another exception. Very rare, though. Very rare. Don't give anybody access inside. Decide how much to give, how much to open, and how much to leave. But don't open the whole thing. It's like saying, if you have $100 million, are you going to give 1,000 people access to that account? You're not going to give anybody access. You won't even tell anybody you have $100 million. I don't think anyone who has $100 million goes around telling people on the streets, I have $100 million. That person will be mugged or kidnapped, or who knows what will happen. Nobody knows. You don't tell anybody. What is the inner wealth? You utilize only that much is needed. Keep it inside. This is not the kind of thing where we just keep draining out. And this is toxic relationship. Toxic relationship is giving access to others to our internal energetic bank account, when only thing that is needed is to build an adequate connection to the extent that is needed for a healthy, beautiful, loving relationship. And so there's a link, but there is not the total access. There's a big difference. That's not ego. We tend to think, well, isn't that just being egotistical? No, not at all. Not at all. In fact, it is being egotistical to give access. We've got it backwards. We think I'm being so supportive, I'm being so loving, I'm just going to pour my heart out, keep telling, keep pouring, and keep that person's problems, we keep internalizing. This is nothing but ego. We think it's love. It's not. It's a total misunderstanding. It's not love. It is an intra-psychic, entangled reaction coming from ego, which we are calling love. It is not love. Not by any standard is that love. It has nothing to do with love even. Love means keeping this energetic process intact and connecting with compassion, care, affection, that much that is going to keep yourself free and not get stuck in the outside problems, but interact with them to the extent necessary, wish well, do what is possible, because the world outside is a constant fluctuation with unending phenomena. There is no end to the number of problems of people, whether they're family members, friends, or the numbers that are there. There's no end to it. The problems are endless. The issues are endless. And the moment we start draining our mental, emotional power and just pouring it out and throwing it out, that person with the $500 billion will be the next homeless person on the street. That's not how you uplift others also. Someone who has $500 billion, he can give that money away within less than 24 hours to all charities. He gives every dollar away. He has nothing left. And he or she, and that person now searches for a homeless shelter. Is that love? Is that human upliftment? What is that? But if you find a creative way to uplift 1 million people using that $500 million while keeping most of it intact so that it keeps rejuvenating and re-energizing, that is energy conservation while it is being activated. And that is where this toxic stress is not present. No, toxic relationships are not present. The healthy relationship is present. Let all be uplifted. That is why in Angel Wing we have the third component, human upliftment. It begins with us, with our own transformation, with these principles intact. It doesn't mean we don't love others. In fact, loving everyone, we love everybody. but we do not drain the internal power. We utilize the correct amount, right amount that is necessary in context, and leave the rest of it alone without internal entanglement with another person, and not entangling with the other person is energy conservation. It is love. It is freedom. It is transformation. And entangling with another person other than the divine, whatever the divine may be, other than that, entangling with another person who is bound will make us even 100 times more bound. And that is not love. That is intra-psychic, psychological, entangled attachment out of great sense of psychological possessiveness. That this is mine, this is mine, this is mine, this person is mine, this person, and we're just stuck. The mind is trapped. This is why humanity suffers. We have mistaken intrapsychic entanglement for love. And that is where energy conservation doesn't ever happen. And as a result of that, the number of psychiatric problems, physical health problems, financial problems, endless number of problems, global conflicts to local conflicts, all of the entire series of human problems are at this root level. It is a matter of contemplation, not because Sachin is saying so. It is worthy of contemplation for every human being. Is it so? Is worthy of contemplation, worthy of reflection. I'll give you a biblical reference. The Bible doesn't say anywhere get stuck with any human being in this world. It says love all, wish well for all. It says love God. Now, I'm not trying to give a religious sermon or anything like that, but you'll notice what the teaching is there. The teaching is not about getting stuck with people here. The people here in this world, they are already stuck. There's no question of getting stuck with them. Love them, wish well for them, help them, be of service to all. But watch out for our own development further into that state of personal excellence. Watch out for our own conservation. I'll give you another example. When we're talking on the phone with friends and all that, how much nonsense conversation goes on. And then people have said to me, Sachin, if we don't talk about all those ridiculous topics, what we will do? I said, you can do something better with your time. Rather than talking nonsense things with people and wasting the precious time we have in life. We're throwing away energy. Literally, like that financial example, you're just pouring out thousands of dollars and putting them in the fireplace. It's one thing if you bought something with it. It's like that. These are the truths that have come into my mind over the last 30 years. I'm not asking anybody to believe this. My only humble request is to try and see if this is true. It's not a question of belief. It's not a question of my telling somebody what to do. It is a matter of realizing what is the glory of energy conservation after it has been activated. This is the point in this 13-week series. It's like a master key. I've said this before many times. You've said it. It's a master key that opens all the doors. But we're looking at that phenomena from thousands of perspectives every week. It's a whole 7-year progression. It's already been laid out. It's going to go all the way until the end of years number 7. We're at year number 2. And this is one of the most important central points to keep in mind and to apply. Even as Sachin is speaking, the only person that I have to be concerned about is me. All this thing that is being said here, if Sachin doesn't apply it this week, it has no meaning at all. For this person, a lot of lip service, a lot of ideas only. It's not going to be useful for me unless it is applied. I have to apply it. And when I recognize, stop multitasking, get rid of that thing completely, set up multiple tasks, do one at a time correctly, properly. And because our mind has a tendency to jump in 10 other places when we're doing one thing. We don't even do the one thing properly. This is the problem. I'll give you a simple example from the life of Mahatma Gandhi. I heard this years back and that really touched me a lot. He was so aware of time management. He calculated how much time he was spending doing shaving every day. And so what he used to do, because he was a student of the Bhagavad Gita, one of the scriptures of India, he had posted on the shaving mirror verses of the Gita. So while he was actually shaving, he was using that time to memorize those verses. And he memorized all 700 verses in that time that he was shaving within a few years. Think about that. So when shaving is relatively easy, but so mind can be active in something else. So when you have a simple task, it is possible to connect with another task, with something else. Or if you don't want to do that, that's fine. Just stay with that task and leave it alone, and that's fine. I would not even use the word task. Let's use the word activity. And even the word activity can be changed into non-entangled activity. It's an activity out of freedom, that it is being done with love and affection and care and self-care and all those kinds of things. This is energy conservation. Energy conservation is extraordinary. Those who have reached the highest levels in human condition, in any dimension of life, in any area of life, in any field of life, they have all understood this principle of energy conservation. And without that, one cannot progress further. One will get stuck. One cannot even get to a balanced state or sustain balance. And certainly, one will not know how to awaken one's intelligence for higher pursuits. If the higher our destination, the more conservation we need. There's no question about that. The lower the goals, that much conservation is not needed. But if the destination is higher, that much time, energy, effort, all of that comes into the picture. With love, without resistance. Key point here, just one final point, then we'll go into our song. That resistance, this is the final homework exercise for today. And that is to perform activity without resistance, be aware of resistance that comes out when energy is activated. Energy gets activated. Is there resistance? It happens. Sometimes even something simple as you just have a meal and then our whole mindset changes after a few minutes because of the food inside the stomach, our brain, mind, body connection. That's okay. Just be aware of what it is and reset it again. Take a little walk, move around a little bit. You find out how to come back into that optimal zone. Don't pressure yourself, but do it gradually. Otherwise, one can sink into a certain lower state of mind, just even after having a meal. Yes, that's the brain-mind-body connection, the HPA axis, and there's a lot of technical stuff behind that. We won't go into that right now. Those supplementary recordings will be there. But please remember, folks, this, again, humble request to all of you present online who have taken your precious time to do this. It is such a blessing, for me to have even this opportunity with all of you to walk this journey together. Who has this kind of chance to do this? So fantastic, right? So with that, there's a lot of slides here. We didn't even get to most of it, but that's all right. I mean, that's just the way, I tend to put a lot of stuff together. I want to show you, there's one or two more things I want to show you. Just give me just a second here. I'm going to move ahead a bit. Hold on one second here. Let's go back to the slide share. Okay, let's go back here. All right, and you'll have this tomorrow. I'll put it into a PDF, so you'll have all this. The quantum principles, remember, there's 52 quantum principles. Let's talk about this for a moment here. There's 52 quantum principles. It's the same ones we're going to go through for all 7 years, but there's going to be different dimensions to them all. So principle number 2 is tolerance. If you remember from 2014 in January, those 52 that we've listed, the same are available, the same are there. So, but there's an additional dimension this week. This is one of the definitions of tolerance. And our goal here is to master tolerance. Now, how do we do that? So these slides talk a lot about that, but I'm just going to forward here, just a moment here. I'm going to go straight through to this point here. This is our homework assignment with regards to this principle. How does tolerance relate to energy conservation and utilizing some portion of activated energy in a dynamic manner that ensures conservation? The principle of tolerance. We understand, we've talked about it many times. What is the bridge between tolerance and energy conservation? That is the question to contemplate this week, to write a paragraph or two. If you can do that, that would be fantastic. It's a basic question that there's a connection between the two. Now, again, as you can see, there's a lot of slides here on this. Let me just go through just a couple of them just so you can see it very quickly. This is the definition of tolerance. We've talked about that before, just to be very steady amongst different situations and all that. So Conserving energy helps maintain mental resilience. It sustains emotional steadiness, enables individuals to face life's unexpected shifts and all that. So that's one idea here. And tolerance aids us in maintaining composure during adversities, and being resilient. It reduces emotional reactivity. These are things you already know. We know all this, but it's a matter of application. Tolerance in the right way will bring energy conservation. Energy conservation will bring steadiness. Tolerance has certain power behind it. Let me just say a quick one or two words about that very quickly. Then we'll do our closing song. Tolerance is one of the most important qualities in life. And until we can recognize that, let's put it this way, when we recognize its significance, there is an abiding steadiness. Abiding steadiness. That steadiness is where energies only, you see, eventually only the right amount of energy will be activated. And then anything that is not needed to be active, it won't even get activated. We want to eventually get to that. But that may happen 2 years from now. I don't know when that'll happen. Everyone's progression is their own. It might happen in a few weeks even for some people. It depends on how this is applied. I'm trying to be careful not to cover too much material all at one time. All right, so let's do the closing video, and then we'll stop because we're almost at 9 o'clock here. So I'm going to really try to stick to time here because we don't want our mind to turn to jelly, of course, with too many ideas. So let's do this here.